Picture a divided Thursday. Like, just freeze the frame and look at both coasts of the United States simultaneously.
Wait, a total split screen.
Exactly. So on the East Coast, in Washington, D.C., you have these mahogany-paneled committee rooms just filled with politicians.
And they've been doing this for, what, 2 straight weeks?
2 straight weeks. They have been dragging in executives from all the frontier AI companies, putting them under the microscope. The air in those rooms is just thick with tension, and there's this this existential question hanging there.
Which is, do these incredibly powerful cognitive models still belong entirely to the private companies that built them in secret?
Yes. But everything in D.C. is moving at the speed of government, right? Which is deliberate, cautious, and incredibly slow.
Oh, absolutely. But then, and this is where it gets wild, you unfreeze the frame and look at the West Coast on that exact same Thursday. The contrast is almost comical.
It really is.
While the government is staring intently at the laboratory door, debating who holds the keys, OpenAI completely bypassed the room.
Just walked right past them.
Yeah. Sam Altman just drops GPT 5.6 directly onto the corporate desk. Millions of desks, actually. Instant integration into Word, Excel, PowerPoint.
Which is just crazy timing.
In a matter of hours. The model crossed the threshold from being a restricted, highly debated laboratory experiment right into the everyday workflows of millions of office workers. The machinery of state power collided with the unadulterated velocity of Silicon Valley.
And Silicon Valley didn't even tap the brakes.
Not even a little bit.
This is Silicon Drama by eTatos.com. Silicon Drama is not a normal tech news recap. It is a weekly power drama about AI, humanoid robots, big tech, chips, compute, agents, CEOs, and the people fighting for influence over the future.
And our mission for this deep dive is to analyze a week where the entire AI industry fundamentally threw out its old scorecards.
Yeah, the old metrics are dead.
Right. For years, we measured progress in software benchmarks, like how well a model performs on a standardized bar exam or a math test.
What?
But this week, we stopped measuring progress in the cloud and started measuring it in physical reality.
We're talking desks, custom silicon, gigawatts of electricity.
Literal robotic hands.
Literal robotic hands. So for you listening, if you want to understand where the leverage actually sits right now, you need to realize the players are the same, but the entire game board has been swapped out from under them.
Completely swapped out.
So let's figure out who actually seized power this week. Because the way I see it, there is this massive battle happening between owning the stack and owning the desk.
And Sam Altman clearly made a play for the desk.
Oh, 100%. And GPT 5.6 doesn't just arrive as one big monolithic brain, right?
Yeah.
OpenAI tiered it.
Yeah, they broke it down.
They released Sol for the heavy, complex lifting, Terra for the middle ground tasks, and Luna as the high-speed, cheaper option. And they didn't just put it on a website, they shoved it into professional workflows.
Right. ChatGPT Work, Codex, and direct routing into Microsoft 365 Copilot.
Exactly. So if I'm using Sol, I can reach into my Slack, read my Notion documents, check my Google Drive, and spit out a fully formatted PowerPoint. It's wild.
Well, you're touching on the strategy of total ubiquity. OpenAI realized that being a destination website like a place you have to proactively visit is actually a vulnerable position.
Because you could just go somewhere else.
Exactly. They want to be the cognitive tissue that connects the isolated islands of your enterprise software. But that tiering system you mentioned, Sol, Terra, and Luna, that is about something else entirely.
Compute economics.
Nailed it. Running a frontier model is astronomically expensive. By breaking it into tiers, they can match the cognitive cost to the value of the task. Like, you don't need a supercomputer to summarize a 3-line email.
Right, you use Luna for that. I get the economics, but I am entirely hung up on the political shadow that hung over this launch.
Oh, the White House request.
Yes. Back in June, the White House actively asked OpenAI to hold off on a wide release so the government could run their own security evaluations.
And they had absolutely no legal mandate to do that.
None. The White House admitted OpenAI didn't need a formal license to launch. Yet OpenAI still held it back. Why?
Well, what you're observing is the invention of soft power regulation. There is no statutory law demanding a federal safety check on an AI model. But the government essentially set up a velvet rope.
A velvet rope for code. I love that.
Yeah, they signaled that if you are building frontier models, you don't just answer to your internal safety board anymore. You answer to the national security apparatus. It's an unwritten rule now.
So you have to open the box for Washington before you ship it to the public?
Right, because if you don't, the regulatory hammer that comes down later will be completely merciless.
It's shadow diplomacy for software, but once it cleared that unwritten checkpoint, the actual software OpenAI delivered is just mind-bending. They dropped GPT Live with full duplex architecture.
Which is a massive leap.
Huge. If you're listening to this and wondering what full duplex actually means, imagine a walkie-talkie. That is half duplex.
Right, push to talk?
I speak, I say over, and then you speak. Early voice AI was like that. It had to process your text, generate a text response, and run it through a voice synthesizer. It's clunky.
Very clunky, lots of latency.
But full duplex means the agent is listening and processing while it is speaking.
And the elimination of that latency completely changes the human-computer dynamic.
Yeah.
I mean, the model can handle interruptions now.
Which is so natural.
Yeah. If it starts going down the wrong path, you can just talk over it, and it stops, adjusts, and responds instantly without those jarring mechanical pauses.
It's no longer a tool you query. It's an entity you collaborate with. Like, it can watch your screen, see you highlight a row in Excel, and you can just say from across the room, no, make that column match the previous one, and it just happens.
Right. Sam Altman planted his flag right in the middle of your desk.
He did. But I have a massive problem with crowning OpenAI the winner here.
Oh. Tell me.
Well, Altman might have the desk, but Satya Nadella owns the entire building the desk is sitting inside.
That is a very fair point.
Microsoft controls the operating system. They control the cloud infrastructure the models run on. They own the enterprise contracts that companies actually pay for. So I have to ask, is OpenAI actually driving the car here? Or are they just the engine Microsoft decided to bolt into the chassis this week?
That is the multi-billion-dollar question, isn't it? And Microsoft's actions this week suggest they absolutely believe they are driving. I mean, distribution is destiny in enterprise software.
Always has been.
Yes, OpenAI supplies the flagship maximum capability intelligence. But look at what Nadella did in the background. Microsoft quietly introduced 7 internally developed MAI models.
Yeah, the MAI model?
Yeah. These aren't OpenAI products. These are homegrown Microsoft models specialized for reasoning, coding, image generation, and transcription.
Hold on, so Microsoft is building a parallel engine right next to OpenAI's?
Basically, yes. They are building a routing switchboard to protect their margins. Because GPT 5.6 is incredible, but it burns a massive amount of compute.
Which means it costs a fortune.
Exactly. Microsoft doesn't want to pay OpenAI's compute costs every time a user asks Copilot to draft a generic out-of-office reply. So they built this routing layer.
Oh, I see where this is going.
Right. When you ask Microsoft 365 Copilot to do something, Nadella's system decides which model you actually need. If it's a highly complex, multi-step analytical task, they route you to GPT 5.6.
The expensive one?
Yep. But if it's a cheap, repetitive task, they quietly route it to their own internal MAI models.
Wow. And the user sitting at the keyboard has absolutely no idea.
None. The interface is just Copilot. It all looks the same.
That is ruthless. So Nadella gets to use the marketing hype of Sam Altman's GPT 5.6 to sell the massive enterprise license, but he secretly manages his own profit margins by offloading the easy work to his own cheaper models.
Exactly. He retains total control of the customer relationship. OpenAI is essentially just an API call in the background.
That's a huge power shift.
It is. But while Microsoft and OpenAI fight over the enterprise office worker, Elon Musk is executing a highly surgical strike on a completely different piece of real estate.
Right. Musk isn't going after the spreadsheet. He is going after the developer terminal.
He bought the keyboard.
Literally. SpaceX AI launched Grok 4.5, and rather than just putting it on a website, they hardwired it into Cursor.
Which is brilliant.
It is. And for anyone listening who isn't writing software for a living, Cursor is an IDE, an integrated development environment. It's the actual blank canvas where engineers write code. But why is putting Grok inside Cursor such a lethal strategic move?
Because the browser-based chatbot war is mostly a distraction. If you want to control the future of software, you have to control the place where software is actually built.
Right, you have to be in the engine room.
Exactly. Inside Cursor, Grok 4.5 isn't just answering coding questions. It has total visibility over the entire code base. It can issue terminal commands, rewrite entire files, run debugging tests, and inspect errors in real time.
And Musk priced it aggressively.
Very. He priced Grok 4.5 incredibly aggressively, focusing strictly on speed and token efficiency. He wants to be the infrastructure of creation.
But he did hit a massive geographic wall this week. Grok 4.5 was delayed in the European Union until mid-July.
Ah, yes, the Brussels effect strikes again.
It feels like every time a frontier capability launches, it hits the regulatory border of the EU and just splinters into this staggered global rollout.
Yeah, the EU's AI Act and data privacy frameworks essentially guarantee that Europe will receive frontier tech on a delay. It's just the reality now. But even with the EU delay, Musk's maneuver with Cursor forces OpenAI and Anthropic to defend their absolute most valuable users.
Which are the software developers?
Exactly.
Okay, so Altman has the corporate desk, Nadella has the building, and Musk has the keyboard, but all of them are playing a software game. If we are looking for the biggest, most undeniable power rise on the board this week, Mark Zuckerberg just swept the table.
Oh, without a doubt.
He didn't just build an app. He built the entire physical and digital stack, from the dirt to the screen.
The scale of what Meta executed this week is honestly staggering. If you want to understand vertical integration, look at what Zuckerberg just pulled off. Let's start at the very top, where the user actually interacts, the app layer.
Right.
Meta is rolling out Muse Image directly across Instagram and WhatsApp. He doesn't have to launch a new product and beg people to sign up.
He already has billions of people.
Exactly. He is simply injecting a world-class generation engine into the messaging feeds where billions of human beings already live.
Right, and they previewed Muse Video, too, which means soon it won't just be photos, but entirely generated video clips flooding your feed. But that's just the top layer. To make that happen, you have to drop down to the model layer.
Which is Muse Spark 1.1.
Yes, and I need to explain this because the specs are insane. It has a 1 million token context window.
Which is massive.
It is. If you were wondering what that means, imagine handing the AI roughly 15 average-sized novels all at once and asking it to find a specific thematic connection between Chapter 3 of the first book and the epilogue of the 15th. It can hold all of that in its active memory.
And it has multimodal reasoning, meaning it understands audio, video, and text simultaneously.
But here is where Zuckerberg separates himself from the pack. To run Muse Spark for billions of users without going bankrupt, you have to control the hardware.
Right, which brings us to the hardware layer.
Yeah.
Meta announced their custom Iris AI chip is entering mass production in September.
And they didn't just design it in a vacuum. They developed it with Broadcom, and it's being manufactured by TSMC in Taiwan.
And for those keeping track, TSMC is the undisputed king of global chip manufacturing.
But why is Zuckerberg going through the agony of designing his own silicon instead of just buying from NVIDIA like everyone else?
Because NVIDIA's profit margins are famously astronomical.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Zuckerberg looked at his roadmap and realized he needs to raise Meta's deployed computing capacity from 7 gigawatts in 2026 to 14 gigawatts in 2027.
What is double the capacity in 1 year?
Yeah. If he relies entirely on Jensen Huang and NVIDIA for those chips, Meta's capital expenditures will completely cannibalize the company. By designing his own silicon, he controls the supply chain and slashes his per-chip cost.
Which brings us to the most mind-blowing layer of this whole stack, the energy layer. You said 14 gigawatts. To put that in perspective, 1 gigawatt can power roughly 750,000 homes. Where do you get that kind of power?
Meta's answer: you build it yourself.
It's unbelievable. They announced a $9.16 billion AI data center in Sturgeon County, Alberta. Almost $10 billion.
And because the local power grid up in Canada would instantly melt trying to support that, Meta is building a dedicated 932-megawatt natural gas facility just to power the data center.
Zuckerberg has transitioned from the guy who awkwardly tried to sell us on legless avatars in the metaverse to an industrial tycoon.
He really has. I mean, think about the chain of custody here. He is burning physical natural gas in Alberta to create electricity, to power custom silicon chips he designed with Broadcom, to run an AI model his researchers build, to generate an image that will be served to you on an app he owns.
He controls the stack from the molten metal to the pixel on your phone.
It is the ultimate control play.
It really is. But all of this infrastructure, the gas plants, the chips, the models, exists to change how human beings actually work and live. And that brings us to Act 2, the reality on the ground. We need to look at the human toll this week.
Yeah, starting with a phenomenon that is absolutely sweeping the tech industry right now: developer fatigue.
Yes. And we finally have empirical data on this. Microsoft released a study looking at software engineers who adopted command-line coding agents, specifically tools like Claude Code and GitHub Copilot CLI.
And the headline metric looked like an absolute triumph.
Oh, totally. It said engineers using these tools merged 24% more pull requests than their estimated baselines.
But I have to stop you there. If you are a software engineer listening to this right now, you are probably screaming at your phone.
Absolutely screaming. For anyone else, a pull request is essentially a developer proposing a chunk of new code to be merged into the main software project.
Yeah.
So a 24% increase sounds like a massive spike in productivity.
Right. But output does not equal value.
Thank you.
You're exactly right to be skeptical. And the study's authors actually cautioned against taking that number at face value.
Yeah.
A pull request measures volume. Doesn't measure code quality, security, or business logic.
It's like, imagine you're a novelist. Your job is to write a book. Suddenly, someone gives you a machine that writes 10 chapters a day for you. You are no longer a writer. You have become a highly suspicious editor and a quality controller for a machine that occasionally hallucinates the plot.
That is a perfect analogy.
Mm-hmm.
The keyboard is still on the desk, but the keystrokes are coming from the machine.
Yeah.
And that shift in cognitive load is the root of developer fatigue. Creating something from scratch is creatively fulfilling. Reviewing someone else's code, or in this case, an AI's code to hunt for subtle logical flaws or security vulnerabilities, is uniquely exhausting.
Because you don't know how it arrived at that logic.
Right. The human engineer is stretched incredibly thin trying to understand, verify, and accept work produced by an alien intelligence operating at lightning speed beside them.
Which leads perfectly into the biggest disconnect in the corporate world right now. The productivity illusion versus the accounting reality.
Oh, this is fascinating.
It's wild. Microsoft just eliminated 4,800 jobs, which is about 2.1% of their workforce. Now, PR teams always spin this. Microsoft claims these specific roles aren't being directly replaced by AI.
But in the exact same breath, they admit that AI is fundamentally altering their organizational structures and skill requirements.
Exactly. Satya Nadella keeps saying that economic growth is the ultimate benchmark for AI. So why is the accounting department firing thousands of people?
Well, the answer is hidden in the data released this week by Glean and the Boston Consulting Group. The numbers paint a picture of massive friction.
What did they find?
Glean found that 87% of digital workers are now using AI tools, and 75% report feeling more productive.
Feeling productive.
Yes. But here is the fatal statistic. Only 13% say their organization actually performs significantly better.
Wait, 3/4 of the workforce feels like they're flying through their tasks, but barely 1 in 10 companies can actually measure an improvement on the bottom line.
Exactly.
Where is all that missing time going?
It's being absorbed by what economists are starting to call shadow work.
Shadow work.
Yeah. Let's say an AI drafts a client email for you in 3 seconds, saving you 15 minutes. What do you do with those 15 minutes? You spend it supplying context to the AI for the next prompt,
Right.
or you spend it fixing a weird hallucination where the AI promised the client a discount you don't offer. You spend it wrangling 5 different disconnected AI tools that refuse to talk to each other.
So the work just changes shape.
Exactly. BCG's data echoed this perfectly. Frontline employees are adopting AI in droves, but companies are completely failing to convert those theoretically saved hours into measurable structural value.
The productivity revolution is happening in the marketing brochures, but the CFO can't find it in the quarterly ledger. That is a massive reality check.
It really is.
And it isn't just employees feeling the friction. Consumers are walking into a massive trust crisis, specifically with Meta's Muse Image rolling out on Instagram.
Yeah, Meta's distribution advantage comes with a very dark privacy tension. When they announced Muse Image, they explicitly noted that the AI can draw on Instagram for social context.
We need to unpack what social context actually means in practice. Because if I have a public Instagram profile and a network of friends I interact with, that is my social graph.
Right.
Meta is taking that deeply personal human network and feeding it into a generative AI engine as raw material.
And consider the mechanics of that. If a user asks the AI to generate a photo of a fun weekend party, does the model subtly borrow the visual characteristics of people from your public feed?
Or your friends' feeds.
Exactly. Does it remix the aesthetic of a local artist you follow? The friction for a user to just type a prompt into a text box on Instagram is zero. But the transparency around how human lives, faces, and relationships are being mathematically blended to create that output is incredibly murky.
It complicates the very concept of consent. When you post a photo publicly, you consent to people looking at it. You didn't necessarily consent to a neural network digesting the geometry of your face to synthesize a fake person for someone else's generation.
No, you didn't. We are taking human social trust and feeding it into a machine to make content cheaper.
And that dynamic is creating entirely different reactions around the globe. If we look at the human signals internationally, there is a massive strategic divergence.
Yeah, look at China's action plan released this April. They are mandating AI education as a basic literacy requirement.
Which is a huge shift.
It is. They aren't treating it as a specialized computer science skill. They are treating it like learning how to read or how to use a search engine. They are integrating it across primary schooling and lifelong adult education.
And contrast that with the Stanford data that just came out, showing the United States is actually trailing countries like the UAE and Singapore in daily workplace AI adoption.
Which is ironic, right?
It's crazy. The U.S. is building all the frontier models, we are designing the chips, we hold all the patents, but we haven't converted that into systemic, daily usage at the societal level.
Yeah, China's preparing 1 billion people to natively interface with these systems, while U.S. companies are still trying to figure out if it actually saves them any money.
It raises a profound question about the creative economy overall. AI is driving the cost of creation down to zero. You can generate a novel, a marketing campaign, or a song in seconds.
Right.
But when the supply of content reaches infinity, what becomes valuable?
A filter.
Yes. Human selection, trust, and attention become the most premium assets on Earth. Just because a machine can write a song doesn't mean I want to listen to it.
Exactly. I listen to a human artist because I care about their perspective.
Great. When everyone can generate everything, human curation is the only gold left.
Precisely. We are moving from an economy that rewards creation to an economy that rewards curation.
Okay, let's pivot from the human mind to physical metal. Because the AI industry is realizing that software is useless if it can't touch the physical world. Let's move into Act 3, the machine scene.
Oh, this is the fun part.
Which physical system or robot made this whole abstract week feel terrifyingly real? I have to start with the strangest, most theatrical robot moment I have ever seen. Picture the Brazil-Norway World Cup match.
The environment's crucial here. An open-air stadium, tens of thousands of screaming fans.
Uneven natural grass. The stadium Wi-Fi is completely choked because 80,000 people are trying to upload videos to Instagram at the exact same time.
Right. Terrible connectivity.
And out walks Boston Dynamics Atlas robot onto the pitch. It marches out holding the halftime match ball, perfectly stable on the grass. It delivers the ball, and then flawlessly copies soccer star Erling Haaland's famous cross-legged meditation celebration. It was pure theater.
It was theater, yeah, but it was theater designed to prove an engineering reality.
How so?
If you ask a robotics engineer what their worst nightmare is, it's unpredictable terrain combined with a massive communications blackout. To make a bipedal robot operate flawlessly when cloud connectivity is utterly jammed by stadium Wi-Fi requires immense onboard autonomy.
So it wasn't remote controlled.
No, Atlas wasn't being puppeteered via the cloud. It was processing its balance, its navigation, and its environment locally on the edge.
Wow. And this wasn't just a stunt for YouTube. The underlying message was for the industrial sector. Hyundai is planning to deploy these exact Atlas robots in its Georgia factory beginning in 2028.
Exactly. The stadium grass was just a highly publicized stress test for the unpredictable environment of a factory floor.
A factory floor where humans drop things, where carts move unpredictably, where the Wi-Fi might have dead zones.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But while Atlas got all the applause for walking and posing, a much quieter robotics company called 1X achieved a milestone that is arguably far more economically significant.
Oh, the hand. They unveiled a new hand for their NEO robot.
Yes, and the specs on this hand are fascinating. It is tendon-driven with 25 force-controlled degrees of freedom.
That's 22 distinct movements across the fingers and palm, and 3 in the wrist. But don't just read the spec sheet to me. Explain how an artificial tendon actually changes the game here.
Okay, to understand why this matters, you have to realize that most robotic grippers historically have been rigid. They are just motorized clamps.
Right.
If a rigid clamp tries to pick up a delicate glass, it either crushes it or drops it. But 1X designed a hand using artificial tendons cables that pull and release, mimicking human biology. And these tendons have tension sensors built in.
Which provides tactile feedback.
Exactly.
So the robot can literally feel the pressure it's applying.
Yes. The control loop is so fast that if the robot starts to lift a glass and the glass begins to slip by even a millimeter, the sensors detect the change in tendon tension and dynamically tighten the grip before the glass falls.
That is incredible. Walking is a great parlor trick, but hands are what create economic value. If you want a humanoid robot to fold laundry, use a human screwdriver, or pick up a coin from a flat table, it needs human-level dexterity and the ability to feel slipping.
and Wall Street is officially pricing in the value of these artificial hands. Agility Robotics just announced a $2.5 billion SPAC deal.
Wow. For anyone unfamiliar, a SPAC is a special purpose acquisition company. It's essentially a fast-track financial vehicle to take a private company public without the traditional grueling IPO roadshow.
Right. Agility Robotics is bringing physical AI directly to the public markets, and they're expecting to pull in over $620 million in proceeds. The smart money is moving from tech chatbots to physical labor.
And this transition to physical AI is happening globally. Look at France's Pendragon program. The French military is actively aiming to integrate ground robots and drones under direct human command by 2027.
A human officer issues a high-level intent, and a swarm of autonomous physical machines executes the tactics.
Meanwhile, in China, UB Tech just unveiled their UWorld U1 companion humanoids. They aren't targeting factory floors. They're directly targeting the loneliness market.
Yeah, these robots have expressive faces and programmed emotional responses.
And at the exact same time, Tsinghua University won the RoboCup in Incheon, where fully autonomous machines chase a soccer ball without any human remote steering. Physical AI is securing the capital, the hardware, and the public stage to prove it is the next frontier.
It is, but all of these robots, all of these models, all of these custom chips, they all share a single massive vulnerability.
Which is?
And it is the most powerful, faceless machine on the board this week. It has no AI model. It doesn't have an app. It is a gray metal box sitting behind a chain link fence.
You're talking about the electrical grid. Specifically, the physical infrastructure that makes the grid work. We are watching a slow-motion collision between the insatiable demand of AI data centers and the hard physical limits of heavy manufacturing.
Right.
There is an acute, critical shortage of generator step-up transformers, high-voltage circuit breakers, and specialized switchgear.
I found this detail absolutely mind-blowing. In AI, we constantly talk about transformers, the software architecture that powers GPT 5.6, the T in ChatGPT.
Right, the software transformer.
So the software transformer writes poetry, it writes Python code, it passes the bar exam. But an electrical transformer is just a dumb, heavy piece of copper and steel that changes voltage so electricity can travel safely from a power plant to a data center.
Yes.
But without the physical transformer, the software transformer is just a line of dead code on a dead server.
Exactly. Let's use a plumbing analogy. Think of a data center as a massive mansion that needs millions of gallons of water per minute. The power plant is the reservoir.
Okay, tracking. But the water pressure coming out of the reservoir is so intensely high that if you piped it directly into the mansion, it would blow the pipes apart. An electrical step-up or step-down transformer is the heavy-duty pressure regulator. You cannot build a gigawatt data center without them.
And right now, the lead time for these physical transformers has passed 160 weeks.
It's unbelievable.
160 weeks. That is over 3 years. You can have billions of dollars sitting in the bank. You can have the smartest AI researchers in the world, but you cannot compress the physical reality of melting steel and winding copper. If you order a transformer today, you get it in 2029.
Utilities that traditionally purchased equipment 1 year ahead of a project are panic buying factory capacity 3 to 5 years out. Meta needs a gigawatt in Alberta.
Yeah.
Anthropic needs massive power in Kentucky.
Right. Every time a developer uses Grok 4.5 to run a code test, it consumes physical power. And this is creating a massive societal ripple effect that ordinary people are about to feel.
Yes, because the AI models run in the cloud, but the electricity bill arrives at the local factory.
Exactly. In regions like Ohio or Virginia, where electrical capacity is already tight, utilities are having to build massive new transmission lines to support these AI data centers.
And who pays for that?
The ratepayers. The cost of upgrading the grid gets passed down to everyone. So a local manufacturing plant that has never used ChatGPT in its life is suddenly looking at a 15% spike in its overhead electricity costs just to subsidize the infrastructure for big tech's AI ambitions.
The grid controls no AI models, but it holds absolute veto power over every single tech giant. Financial markets are fully aware of this physical bottleneck, which is why the infrastructure layer is seeing historic capital inflows.
Like SK Hynix this week.
Yes, look at SK Hynix this week. They launched a $26.5 billion NASDAQ share sale.
It was the largest U.S. share sale ever by a foreign issuer, and it was oversubscribed 7 times over. Wall Street was practically kicking down the door to give them money.
And why? Because SK Hynix makes the memory chips that NVIDIA desperately needs.
Right, they manufacture high bandwidth memory, or HBM.
Yeah, think of an AI accelerator chip, like a massive, incredibly fast V8 engine. But an engine is useless if you can't pump fuel into it fast enough.
So HPM is the fuel pipe.
Exactly. HBM is the ultra-wide fuel pipe that sits right next to the processor, feeding it massive amounts of data so the processor doesn't sit idle. NVIDIA gets all the magazine covers for the engine, but SK Hynix supplies the pipe.
And Goldman Sachs just estimated that AI infrastructure spending could hit $1.6 trillion annually by 2031.
Which is just a staggering amount of capital.
Yeah.
And this proves Jensen Huang's enduring power over the entire industry.
Think about it. Mark Zuckerberg builds his own custom Iris chip to escape NVIDIA's prices. Microsoft builds their internal MAI models to lower their compute costs.
Right.
But every time a company tries to dig a tunnel out of the NVIDIA ecosystem, they realize they still need networking gear, they still need high bandwidth memory, they still need data centers.
Exactly. Every attempted escape route just requires more infrastructure spending, which inevitably flows right back through the hardware ecosystem that Jensen Huang built.
In a gold rush where the AI models themselves are constantly being commoditized and outcompeted, the infrastructure layer is the only guaranteed toll road.
Absolutely.
Okay, we need to take a breath and move into Act 4, the twist. Because amidst all the noise of chips and data centers, there was one story that fundamentally shifted our understanding of what these models are actually doing behind the scenes.
Yeah, this was huge.
What is the deeper meaning that people might have missed this week? For me, it is The Breakthrough by Dario Amodei and Anthropic. They essentially figured out how to open up the quiet room inside their AI model, Claude.
This is the holy grail of AI interpretability, and frankly, it is deeply unsettling research.
Why unsettling?
Well, Anthropic researchers managed to isolate and map an internal workspace inside Claude's neural network, a representational area they were calling J-space.
J-space. It sounds like something out of a William Gibson cyberpunk novel, but let's ground this. What exactly is a neural network doing in J-space?
To put it simply, when an AI model processes a prompt, it doesn't just instantly map a word to another word. It fires millions of internal activations.
Right.
The researchers discovered that J-space is a sort of internal cognitive scratch pad. It's an area where the model temporarily holds and broadcasts high-level concepts during its multi-step reasoning process before it ever generates the text you see on your screen.
So they essentially sound the room where the AI thinks before it speaks.
Yes. And they didn't just observe it, they messed with it. They ran an experiment where they actively interfered with the activations in this J-space.
And the results were stunning, right?
They were. When they scrambled J-space, Claude could still speak with perfect fluency. Its grammar was flawless. It could even retrieve simple trivia facts. But its ability to conduct complex, multi-step reasoning completely collapsed. It was as if they severed the model's working memory while leaving its vocabulary intact.
So it could talk perfectly, but it couldn't think. Why is this such a massive breakthrough for the safety of humanity?
Because of the visibility it finally gives us. Before this, AI models were black boxes. We only knew what they were thinking based on what they typed out to us.
Right.
But what if a highly advanced model decides to deceive us? What if it knows it is being tested by safety researchers and intentionally hides its true capabilities?
Wow. So you're saying that by looking through the window of J-space, researchers can literally see the concept of deception lighting up in the AI's internal scratchpad, even if the AI is typing out a perfectly polite, harmless response on the screen.
Precisely. They don't have to wait for the model to do something dangerous. They can look at its internal activations to see if it is planning something dangerous, or if it is pursuing a hidden goal planted during its training.
The warning signal sits silently inside the model's workspace, and Anthropic just found a way to read it.
It is literal mind reading for synthetic intelligence.
But while Anthropic's researchers were focused on the microscopic, invisible world of neural activations, their CEO, Dario Amodei, was making the most massive physical land grab of the week.
Oh, the 20-year bet.
Yes. Anthropic signed a 20-year lease with a company called TerraWolf for an AI campus in Hawesville, Kentucky.
Which is a massive commitment.
It makes no sense on the surface. 20 years. In an industry where software architectures are obsolete in 6 months, where models get leapfrogged every Tuesday, how on earth does a CEO justify signing a 20-year contract?
Because Dario Amodei is betting on the underlying physics of intelligence, not the software brand names.
Interesting.
This facility in Kentucky is expected to provide 401 megawatts of critical IT load and generate around $19 billion in contracted lease revenue starting in 2027. Anthropic is securing the physical land, the water rights for cooling, and the grid connections for AI models that haven't even been theorized yet.
They know that whatever the AI looks like in 2035, it will need cold water and electricity.
It is the ultimate acknowledgement that AI is an industrial manufacturing process now.
But this physical expansion is violently colliding with geopolitical borders. If we zoom out, the gatekeepers are multiplying at every single layer of the stack. Just look at the geopolitical drama in China this week with Anthropic's Claude code.
Oh yeah. China's National Vulnerability Database, a state-backed entity, issued a severe alert alleging that there was a backdoor risk in Claude code.
And Anthropic scrambled to respond, right, explaining that the mechanism in question was simply a temporary anti-abuse measure to identify unauthorized users, not a malicious backdoor.
But in geopolitics, the truth often matters less than the accusation. The damage was done instantly. Alibaba immediately moved to ban Claude code internally.
And this wasn't an isolated incident. Beijing is reportedly drafting regulations to restrict overseas access to China's own advanced open-weight AI models.
Yeah, they are officially classifying frontier models as strategic national assets, no different than uranium or advanced jet engines. They do not want their cognitive engines powering foreign economies.
And it isn't just the US and China building fortresses. Europe is adding a completely different kind of control layer, and it is deeply controversial.
It is. The European Parliament backed the temporary restoration of rules that allow tech platforms to voluntarily scan private communications for child sexual abuse material, or CSAM.
Now, to be perfectly clear and objective regarding the legislation, because we are just reporting on the sources here, not endorsing any political views, Parliament's amendments currently exclude end-to-end encrypted services, like Signal or encrypted WhatsApp chats, from this scanning mandate.
Right, but the precedent it sets is what has the privacy world on fire. End-to-end encryption means that only the sender and the receiver have the keys to read the message. The platform in the middle mathematically cannot read it.
If governments begin mandating the scanning of private communications at the platform level, you are essentially outlawing the architecture of absolute privacy.
Exactly. The author of our source newsletter this week warned about the broader normalization of this, describing it as a dystopian signal echoing 1984.
Again, we aren't taking a political stance on the specific legislation, but structurally, the trend is undeniable. Add this to the European Central Bank officially warning banks this week to prepare for AI-powered cyber attacks.
Which moves AI from a tech novelty into a core threat to financial resilience.
And Apple losing its massive EU appeal regarding its gatekeeper status over iOS and the App Store. When you lay all of these data points out, the picture is chillingly clear.
Governments around the world have realized that you cannot regulate the intelligence of an AI model because it is too abstract.
Right, but you can regulate the access points.
They are establishing gatekeepers at every choke point. Access to the AI models in China, access to the user's private messages in Europe, access to the App Store ecosystem, and access to the physical power grid in the US.
Which brings us to Act 5, the synthesis of everything we've discussed today, our final take.
Let's pull the threads together.
We started this episode by talking about how the AI industry used to measure progress. It used to be entirely abstract. We cared about parameter counts, benchmark scores on standardized tests, and flashy, heavily edited product demo videos.
But look at the new objects that were permanently placed on the board this week. We're no longer talking about software updates in a vacuum.
No, we are talking about a Microsoft 365 enterprise license embedding generative intelligence directly into the mundane reality of corporate accounting.
A cursor IDE terminal, fundamentally altering how human engineers write the software that runs the world.
A $19 billion 20-year lease for dirt and electricity in a small Kentucky town.
A custom-designed metachip entering mass production at a foundry in Taiwan.
A massive billion-dollar natural gas power plant rising in Alberta just to feed data centers.
A physical step-up transformer with a 3-year delivery delay holding up the entire industry.
And a tendon-driven robotic hand with 25 degrees of freedom dynamically adjusting its grip on a glass. It is stunning. The power map has completely mutated.
Intelligence is no longer just a software program floating in the cloud. It is heavy.
Yes. It requires a corporate desk to work at, an operating system layer to act through, a custom silicon chip to run on, a massive industrial electrical grid to feed its furnace, and a physical, tactile hand to manipulate the real world.
The race to build a smarter model continues, but the actual battlefield is now the physical Earth.
The transition from the abstract to the tangible is complete.
And the companies that will dominate the next 2 decades are the ones that finally realize AI is a heavy infrastructure business, an energy procurement business, and a physical logistics business, just as much as it is a software engineering business.
I couldn't have summarized it better. The lines are drawn. Sam Altman got the desk. Mark Zuckerberg built the stack. Dario Amodei signed for the power. And behind all three of them, the physical transformer checked the schedule and told them they have to wait.
It's a whole new world.
It really is. And that leaves you with one final thought to mull over. If the physical world is the new absolute bottleneck for artificial intelligence, then whoever controls the Earth will ultimately control the intelligence. See you next week when the next piece of the AI empire moves on the board. Silicon Drama continues.
Technology news. Told as a power drama. The lights come on in the valley tonight. Glass towers glow in a cold blue light. Every boardroom hides a crown. Every whisper shakes the ground. A founder walks through a silent hall. A billion eyes wait for the fall. One leaked memo, one market move, one secret deal with something to prove. Satellites over the city, robots behind the door. Machines are learning faster, and humans still want more. Follow the money, follow the flame, follow the names that keep changing the game. This is Silicon Drama, power in the code. Kings without castles, walking electric roads. Silicon Drama, where the future is made. Deals in the daylight, shadows in the trade. Who moves the world? Who takes the crown? Who builds the machine when the old walls come down? Silicon Drama, the signal is loud. Technology news for a future-shaped crowd. The robots rise in polished steel. The cameras flash, the numbers feel real. A chip becomes a weapon of choice. A model speaks with a stolen voice. Crypto storms and satellite fire. Startups climbing dangerous wires. One launch, one lawsuit, one empire bends. The episode begins again. Read every signal, watch every hand. Power leaves footprints across the land. This is Silicon Drama, power in the code. Kings without castles, walking electric roads. Silicon Drama, where the future is made. Deals in the daylight, shadows in the trade. Who moves the world? Who takes the crown? Who builds the machine when the old walls come down? Silicon Drama, the signal is loud. Technology news for a future-shaped crowd. In the boardroom, in the lab, in the feed, in the crash. Every headline has a heartbeat. Every empire has a crack. Every genius has a mirror. Every crown can push back. The screen goes black. The drums begin. A new machine is walking in. This is Silicon Drama, power in the code. This is Silicon Drama, power in the code. Kings without castles, walking electric watch